Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. I got a first look for you on DraftKings. For DraftKings NFL Week 1, we're going to take a look at all the wide receivers and the tight ends that are on this slate for Week 1. Obviously, it's a few weeks until the NFL kicks off, but I'm super excited. So excited to talk about NFL again that I can't contain myself. We've got at least 3 uploads a week during preseason. Once we get to the regular season, we're going to hit that cadence that we hit all of last year, looking at a review of everything that happened from the week before, the first look that comes out on Mondays. We're going to add a stock up, stock down video on Tuesdays. We are also going to have the Thursday night football look. My article comes out on Thursdays that I read on Wednesdays at ESPN for ESPN Plus. That's Best Buys. We're going to have 5 picks that I did as an article last year on Zeidenfeld.com is going to move right here to YouTube. And then the Friday question and answer. The Sunday show on Twitch is still up in the air. We'll have the news for you guys on that one. As soon as I have it, I will let you know. But thank you for all the support through these first 2 weeks that I've produced videos for the NFL preseason and leading up to the season, both for season long, for sports betting, for daily fantasy, and everything else that goes along with it. Thank you guys so much for all the views, the likes, the new subscriptions. Those of you who have followed on Instagram, I appreciate you. We're approaching 2,000 followers over on Instagram as well. That link, as always, down below as the pinned comment, and links to all my other socials, as well as Twitch, where I record every one of these videos live on stream, is down below in the comments. Just click show more. So thank you guys very much for the support so far. Thank you for the continued support. And let's break down all these wide receivers and tight ends for Week 1, because there are a ton of them that we have to get through. I'm not going to look at every single wide receiver on the slate. I'm going to try and hit some tiers, the high price guys, the mid price guys, the value plays that are 5K and down, and maybe a couple of punt plays. And then we're also going to look at the daily roto projections, because they have some way too early projections that are up and available. If you go to dailyroto.com and you click on their NFL projections, they have some way too early projections up that are free to view right now. They aren't their final projections for Week 1. It's more to give you an idea, an opportunity to click around the site, play with the optimizer a little bit, build some lineups, see what kind of they do, and then when they start to actually have their projections for Week 1, their top-down projections that they hand make from scratch every single week of the NFL season. And based on last season, the studies that were done on an R-squared model showing that they had the most accurate daily fantasy week-to-week projections in the DFS space. So definitely go check out Daily Roto. They've been great supporters of the stream and of the YouTube channel as well. Link down below to them also in the description below. So let's just head right over to DraftKings and look at these things, right? Odell Beckham Jr. sitting right up on top. You're going to have the money to spend, okay? I have to preface this by saying that you can build whatever lineup type you want to build. I've gone over my process for years, whether it's been on rotogrinders back when I was on Grinders Live, whether it's been at ESPN, whether it's been here on YouTube or on Twitch or different articles that I've written. My process always remains the same, but Week 1 is a little bit different in the way that you go about it. Typically, I look to spend down at quarterback. I spend up at running back. I look for value targets at wide receiver that can get me 8+ targets each. I look usually for a cheap tight end. If you guys watched the first look videos from last year, that's kind of my process that I go along, and then you can bend and break it as the salaries respond to you on a daily or a weekly basis, depending on what games you're playing. But Week 1's a different animal. There's a lot of players on this slate that are discounted by 10 and 20% what they should be, because DraftKings views Week 1, and every site, I guess, views Week 1 as kind of a promotional week to get as many bodies into the tent as they can possibly get into the tent. So you want people to have fun making lineups. And so the prices are down. Not everybody's price, but there's a lot of players that are massively discounted. Obviously, also because they release the salaries so early, you're going to end up having some players in the preseason that have role changes, whether it's a merit-based promotion or whether it's a next man up sort of a situation where somebody gets injured and then the player behind him is now thrust into a different role with way more volume and is priced for that secondary or third role, but is now a wide receiver 1 or a wide receiver 2, and he's going to go from 10% market share of targets to 18%. That's a big jump, especially when you consider that they're priced as the lower guys. So you'll be able to afford any roster build or construction that you want, especially for tournaments and GPPs. So if you're playing the Millie Maker, if you're playing the Slant, if you're playing the $3 tournament or anything else, you don't have to stick to a standard roster build in Week 1. So everybody's in play. Odell Beckham in play. He's good. I don't think I need to tell you about how good all these guys at the top of the sheet are. Odell Beckham Jr., Julio Jones. Okay. Yes, he's got a questionable tag by his name. Julio Jones is going to be questionable every single week, forever. That's just Julio Jones. But he's a baller, and he's a gamer, and he gets a ton of targets every single week. And he had a good amount of touchdowns last year, especially if you use something like Mike Clay's OTD that predicts touchdown usage, how often they're involved in end zone targets inside the 10 and the 5. Julio Jones definitely had a lot more market share of those targets last year. So people who felt that Julio Jones, and have always felt that Julio Jones needs to be more involved in the red zone, he was last year and had a tremendous end of the season after not scoring any touchdowns for the first 7 weeks. He kind of course corrected those last bunch of weeks here with a touchdown, a touchdown, a touchdown, 2 touchdowns, a touchdown, a touchdown, a touchdown, right? All of his touchdowns come in the second half of the season. Hopefully that won't be the case this year where he's so up and down in terms of touchdown variance, but his volume is going to be there for yards and targets and catches to keep you where he is. Mike Evans, this is the highest totaled game of the week. People are going to have a lot of the 49ers and a lot of the Buccaneers. Mike Evans, as good as anybody. 19.7 fantasy points per game last year, 7.9. So you get a little bit of a discount, a couple hundred discount from the top guys. He might be a little bit pricey. I think that he is playable because everybody's playable week 1. Tyreek Hill going up against Jacksonville. Jacksonville is good on defense, but this game has a high total, and good on defense doesn't mean that you're going to stop this Kansas City offense. It just doesn't. It hasn't last year. I don't think it's going to this year. He's still kind of boom or bust. There's more boom than bust, but he's still kind of boom or bust. Because you're still going to have these weeks where he gets 3 targets. You're going to have these weeks where he gets 7 targets. 7's fine. 6 targets, 4 targets, right? I'd love to see a little bit more consistency in his range of targets from week to week, right? I'd love to see Tyreek Hill have a floor of 8 targets. But based on how he's utilized on that Chiefs team, you're just never going to see that, right? So they take shots with him. He's got a really high average depth of target, sees a ton of air yards, however you want to view that. They take shots with him, which gives him that massive upside. These 30-point tournament winning weeks, these 45-point tournament winning weeks, these 45-point tournament winning weeks. Added to the fact that he is a good kick returner as well, giving you that special teams upside. Tyreek Hill in play every single week for me, regardless of opponent. Just because of the explosiveness of that Chiefs offense and his explosiveness in and of itself. The defensive matchup kind of helps you in tournaments to me. He may not be viable for your cash game lineups, but he's somebody that when he's playing against a tough opponent actually makes it easier to overweight him in tournaments because people will run away from that red number in opponent's rank. Keenan Allen, with Gordon out, should see more red zone usage, and he saw good red zone usage last year, although his targets were way down from the year before. We should see a little bit more target market share from him in an offense that does project to move the ball this season, albeit if Andrew Luck is out, I like that game a little bit less. AJ Green is out. Cooper is dealing with an injury. Thielen and Diggs, I don't know which Minnesota Vikings team we're going to see. I don't know if we're going to see the Minnesota Vikings team that was targeting Adam Thielen 12, 13, 19, 12, 10, 13, 10 times a game the first half of the season, or if we're going to see this Minnesota Vikings offense that target him 4, 6, 2, 7. These are 2 different Adam Thielens. This is Jekyll and Hyde over here, right? One is a game-breaking, slate-breaking wide receiver. The other one is GPP only, and at that only had 1 week where he really became a very good GPP play in the second half of the season. All the other weeks he did not come close to reaching value. 8.9k, 12.7 points. 7.7k, 15 points. This is the only week he exceeded value. 8k, 7k, priced like he was in this half, or like he was performing in the first half of the season. Price came up, percentage went up, performance went down. They changed offensive coordinators. They became much more of a running team. It affected Diggs as well. You know, 6, 7, 6. It's nice, but I don't want nice. Also, as you can see, as I said, the players are discounted, right? 7K, 7.4, 7.6. Last season, 6.7. So prices are down in week 1, just because that's the way typically they price things down in week 1. Even look at his price from last year, week 1, 6.3. Immediately went to 6.9, 7, 7. Against the Rams, it came down because the Rams were a very good defense on paper. They have really good cornerbacks, but like the Rams score so many points that it boosts the amount of targets that wide receivers see. T.Y. Hilton, totally dependent on Andrew Luck's status for week 1, at least as far as I'm concerned. Woods, take your pick between the Rams wide receivers if you like Woods or Cooks or Kupp. Cooper Kupp, though, looks like he's a full go based on Stefania's tweet the other day. If he's there, he was the Rams MVP last year and might be a little bit too cheap at 5.7K. If he's going to be rolled out at the same snap percentage and target usage and definitely red zone usage that he was seeing last year. The Rams offense, whether it was anecdotal or not, took a massive dip after Cooper Kupp blew out his knee. With him back, and the amount of usage that he gets after they get inside the 20-yard line, and definitely the usage that he gets around the goal line inside the 10, Cooper Kupp is an absolute monster in this offense. And to me, looks underpriced, especially against Robert Woods at 5,400. Or sorry, at 6,400, and he's down here at 57. I like him way better at 57 than I like Landry at 46. Tyler Boyd with AJ Green out should see targets, with Seattle plays paced down. As much as I like Wentz, if you watch the quarterback video, you know that I'm going to be on some of the pass catchers, especially in tournaments, although they're going to spread the ball around. The thing is, with Philly's pass catchers, let's highlight the Philly guys real quick. Where's Philadelphia? Highlighting the Philly guys real quick. 5,900 for Alshon Jeffrey and the targets that he's going to get, right? Nobody on Philly, they spread the ball around, is going to see 25 to 30% of the targets in a game. Not Ertz, right? Not Goddard, not Jeffrey. But if Jackson, and again, these are targets from Tampa Bay and don't really carry over. If Deshaun's going to get 6 targets and Alshon's going to get 8 targets, it's going to come down to which one of them has a touchdown. And considering that touchdowns are highly variant and Djax can break value on one catch, 60-yard touchdown, and he's already exceeded value on one target and one catch, Deshaun Jackson does look like a tasty value here at 4,500, at least to me. But there's a lot of guys in that range. We're going to get down to them real quick. I don't want to spend all day. I know you guys don't have 45 minutes to watch a YouTube video on week 1 plays, but if you're here, I appreciate you. Golladay, Arizona missing every single cornerback. They're standing outside of Whole Foods right now in Arizona with a clipboard asking people if they played cornerback in high school and would like to try out to play for the Arizona Cardinals for the first 5 or 6 weeks of the season. And they got to face Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones Jr. in week 1. Detroit has a team total of 24.5. Matthew Stafford looks like a good value play against a Cardinals defense. It doesn't look like they can stop anybody. And a Cardinals offense that wants to play hyper fast and hyper aggressive, which is they're either going to score a ton, right? And force the other team to move the ball and throw, or they're going to give the ball to the other team in good field position. And the Lions are going to get to move the ball on the outside and on the inside, because I don't think Arizona can stop the run. I don't think they're going to be able to stop the pass with Peterson suspended and everybody else getting injured on the outside. Golladay could be a very chalky play at 6,300. And we'll look at the other Detroit guys. Marvin Jones Jr. at 4,800. So the same sort of a situation to me. Do you want to go with Golladay, who's going to get all the pub and a lot of the ownership? Or do you want to take the value at 1,500 less to go with Marvin Jones Jr.? As I said before with Djax, there's a lot of values under 5K. So getting down to that range, right? Getting down to that 5K range. Corey Davis saw a ton of targets last year, should be playing from behind against Cleveland, should see a ton of targets in week 1 as well. How productive those targets are going to be, I don't know. But projection systems are going to like him a little bit because he's going to be targeted heavily, especially in week 1, in a game flow situation where they're expected to be playing from behind, and he should see elevated targets in that game. Larry Fitzgerald should see a bunch of cheap targets in this game, though low ADOT. DD Westbrook. If you watch the quarterback video, I talked a lot about how Nick Foles has a team total that week and was a good value of 24. DD Westbrook should get some run and should see some targets in this game, and has game-breaking speed and very good receiving ability, and is 4,800. Another player under 5,000 that looks like he's very good. Spoke about Marvin Jones Jr. Christian Kirk. That offense is going to play fast. Whether or not Detroit is going to be good enough and slow enough to keep them off the field, because that's how Detroit wants to play on offense. But if they score quickly, that Arizona offense gets back on the field. If they score often, that Arizona offense is going to have to throw the ball even more than they project to throw it, and hoping to get their 70-plus plays off in a game. And Christian Kirk going to see an uptick in terms of targets. Value of target is the question. Deshaun Jackson, we already spoke about. John Brown against the Jets. I love the way that John Brown and Josh Allen's game complement one another. I'm waiting to see how many targets a game John Brown's going to get. Throw out the final 8 weeks of the season, because everybody loves to game log watch and say, well, look what he did. He only got 3 targets a game last year. Yeah, with Lamar Jackson in his rookie season throwing the ball 15 times a game, they're going to throw it more in Buffalo, probably 25 to 30 times a game. And Josh Allen, somebody who's going to take shots deep, yards per attempt is a very big stat for him. One of the best, if not the best in the league last year. He will take shots downfield. That fits John Brown very well. You guys know that I like it when the puzzle pieces fit together. And the puzzle pieces of John Brown and Josh Allen fit together very well from a fantasy perspective. John Brown, a great deep threat, very good wide receiver at 4,300. Love him as a GPP play in week 1. A lot of people are going to be on Gallup. I've never been really sold on Gallup. Give me John Brown or give me Curtis Samuel in week 1. Again, another good wide receiver who is showing out consistently in camp. Every single day in camp, Curtis Samuel looks like an absolute stud. 4,200. I expect more consistent market share of targets for Curtis Samuel this year. I expect more game-to-game targets for him. I expect his ADOT to be high as well. So they're going to take shots down the field. Cam Newton's shoulder in a much better spot than it was the second half of last season. The surgery worked. He looks great in preseason. He looks great in camp and at practice. And Curtis Samuel does appear to be his favorite target outside of Christian McCaffrey. So his best outside target. So if Curtis Samuel's going to get me 6 targets a game, you've got, on a game-to-game basis, not on a season-long basis in terms of, I think he can pile up the stats that somebody like Tyreek Hill can pile up in that Chiefs offense. But on a one-game, one-off situation, I definitely think that Curtis Samuel can post Tyreek Hill type games, 30, 40 fantasy point games, where he has 4 or 5 catches for 125 yards and 2 touchdowns. One of them being of the super long variety. Very shifty player, great route runner per Matt Harmon's reception perception. Looks like he's headed for a breakout year and still priced way down at 4,200. Jamison Crowder, we know how much Sam Darnold loves the slot. Jamison Crowder manning the slot on the majority of his snaps with Darnold during the preseason. The Jets offense looks very good. Darnold's last 6 games last year, he was one of the QB1s. I believe he was the QB6 over the final 5 or 6 games last year in fantasy. That offense looks like it's about to, I'm not making a pun, guys, but I realized I was going to say it midway through the sentence, but the Jets offense does look like it's about to take off. I'm sorry. I'm very, very sorry. I did not mean to make that pun. I apologize. But it does. And Jamison Crowder looks like he's going to be, on a week-to-week basis, a very, 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 very high target, high floor player. Now, does he have a super high ceiling? We don't know. I mean, I don't think he's going to see deep downfield throws, but I think that we're going to see 6 to 8 targets a game for Jamison Crowder, which in full PPR on DraftKings for 4.1K just looks too cheap. They do have Robbie Anderson on the outside, which should open up a lot of space. They don't have Chris Herndon for the first 5 weeks of the season, which opens up more market share of targets for somebody like Crowder to soak up. And 4,100 to me seems just a little bit too cheap. There's a lot of players down here. Adam Humphries, kind of the same thing against Cleveland. Elevated targets for him in that offense. We saw him utilized in the first few drives with Mariota during the preseason as well, and how he's going to be rolled out as a safety valve, as a short target guy, similar to Crowder. High targets, low ADOT, kind of a safe-ish play if you need a value guy. He's going to have to score touchdowns in there. It feels like old school Welker or old school Edelman until Edelman saw a major increase in his red zone looks last year, where he'd have to pay it off with 8, 9, 10 catches and get you 100 yards to really have that ceiling game. We could see a couple of those this season from Adam Humphries. I don't know if we're going to see it in week 1, but for the price, Crowder, Humphries as a last man into a lineup, last wide receiver being played, don't hate it. Willie Snead has looked pretty good in preseason. Metcalf, not a big fan of his yet. I like what this offense can do, but against Cincinnati, definitely in play for GPPs, but not as safe as the higher target guys. He's more of a dart throw, really low floor, really high ceiling sort of play, not a high floor, mid ceiling sort of play. And then as we get closer to week 1, these lower price guys will open up for us, and we'll see which ones of them look like they might see high targets in week 1, but I don't want to venture a guess right now, 3-4 weeks out from week 1. We'll get into that with the week 1 first look and the week 1 Q&A that we're going to do leading up to kickoff that week. We'll get into the super low price guys as we get to that. Let's flip over to tight ends, because I said I was going to do both on this one video. So if you like the wide receiver talk and you're still around, thanks. Appreciate you hanging out. Travis Kelce, Kittle are in a tier by themselves in week 1 to me. Over somebody like Zach Ertz, whose target market share should come down a little bit. Goddard should play a little bit more, especially in the red zone. They have a lot of mouths to feed, and they spread the ball around. So between Alshon and Djax and Sanders and Howard and Goddard and Ertz, there's a lot of mouths to feed. And with Wentz, they do like to spread the ball around. It's great for the team and it's great for the offense, but it's bad for Ertz, because I see more of this, right? I see more of 7, 8, 4, 7, 8. Like, get used to this. This isn't going to happen very often anymore, right? I don't see it happening as much. You're not going to see this anymore. You're not going to see these 10 target games as often from Ertz. So I kind of feel like Ertz's price should come down a little bit before I'm willing to play him. Yes, they have added more players on the outside. And people can say, well, Kittle's not going to get force-fed targets because Garoppolo's a better quarterback. And Beathard and what was the other kid's name last year? We're just feeding him the ball, right? We're just force-feeding Kittle the ball. And then the team was force-feeding him the ball to get him the record at tight end for receiving yards and everything else. Mullins, thank you, Nick Mullins. What that does... yeah, he may not see the same volume that he saw, and you guys know how much I love volume of targets and volume of catches. He's still going to see a really high volume of targets and really high volume of catches, but they're going to be higher efficiency throws. So if you listen and pay attention to, volume is king and will get you places, but touchdowns are what puts you over the edge. If you look at something like OTD from Mike Clay, George Kittle, for the amount of volume that he had, and if you listen to JJ Zacharyson, and you look at opportunity, touchdowns per yards at tight end is a very sticky stat from year over year on a year over year basis. George Kittle should have had 8 or 9 touchdowns last year. He had 5. Now with a better quarterback, we should see that touchdown number increase, which to me increases his week per week upside as well, obviously, because 2 touchdown games are going to be more in play for George Kittle, while 14 target games are going to be less in play for George Kittle. So he may see 8 or 9 targets a game, right? And instead of getting a line like this, where you get 7 of 12 for 74 and no touchdown, you may get 6 of 9 with a touchdown and maybe the same amount of yards. So the upside is greater with a Jimmy Garoppolo than it was with Mullins, than it was with Beathard, right? OJ Howard looks to take a jump this year in that game against San Francisco. Both tight ends in play to me. Probably not going to play one in flex. I'll choose between one or the other. Should see a massive uptick this year. Looks like he's on everybody's list as a breakout candidate. Tremendous target in the red zone. Massive human being. Tremendous athleticism. I just don't see his targets going to like 8, 9, the way that those other guys are above him. And he's priced accordingly, right? He's at 5K. Kittle 1,600 more, 2,100 more to go get Kelsey. I'm fine with this price, right? I'm not upset by the 5K price tag. Evan Engram, though, at 4,800, a little bit more palatable to me, both because of his talent and his amount of targets that he gets, right? The volume for Engram is greater than the volume for OJ Howard. But now you're missing possibly Shepard. You're also missing Tate. And if we go look at Evan Engram's production in games the last 2 years when Odell Beckham Jr. has played versus his production when Odell Beckham Jr. has not played for the Giants, he gets like a 50% bump in his fantasy output on a per game basis when Odell is gone. And guess what? Odell's gone, y'all. Bye. Evan Engram is a tremendous play for week 1 against Dallas. He could get 11, 12, 13 targets. He's only at 4,800. The floor is extremely high. The ceiling is also extremely high with Evan Engram. 4,800 probably too cheap. Another player who's too cheap, Hunter Henry, is back, practicing in full, playing in full, not wearing a knee brace, doesn't need it, playing just fine. Missed last season with that ACL. He is back, and he's only 3,900. And they're missing Melvin Gordon, who was one of the highest volume guys, if not the, I think he was the highest volume running back inside the red zone over the past 2 seasons. A tremendous amount of red zone volume vacated. Some carries, a lot of targets as well. Hunter Henry should come in with at least a 20% to 30% target share in the red zone for the Chargers, who project to be a very high scoring team with a team total in week 1 above 25 points. Hunter Henry should see a good amount of targets to be able to easily pay off that 3,900 and has the upside of the guys at the top based on his touchdown ability and his usage inside the red zone. A couple of cheaper guys. Jordan Reed, play him while he's healthy, guys. Although he's against a tough defense. When he's not healthy, you're not going to be able to play him. Yes, he might leave. He's had concussion issues, ankle issues, back issues throughout his career. While he's there, he's a beast. GPP only for me, though. Delaney Walker going up against Cleveland. They were really bad against tight ends. Once again, if you believe in Delaney, jump on the train at 3,500. All these plays are less palatable to me than the plays that I mentioned before, although there are some that are, you're gonna be okay with them, but they're not as thrilling to me as the plays that were mentioned at the higher price points. Where'd Olsen go? There he is. 3,200 for Olsen against the Rams. Also coming back from injury, looks fine. I'm very high on this Carolina Panthers offense. I think Cam is fine. I think they have the guys on the outside to stretch the defense. I think DJ Moore is a problem if they get him the ball in space, and they do a very good job of getting the ball to their players in space. Samuel's going to take the roof off of defenses, move the safeties back. Christian McCaffrey is a big problem and might be on track for a 1K season, 1,000 yards rushing and 1,000 yards receiving. He was close last year. He might get there this year if that offense is as good as I believe that offense can be. And Greg Olsen at 3,200 with the 5 to 7 targets that he should see does have touchdown upside. The Rams in Carolina, a very high-powered game, should score a ton of points. Those are some of the looks that I have for you right now, early in the season. That's who I like at wide receiver and tight end. We still got a few weeks before the season starts, so be sure to keep tuning into these videos. I will have at least three more uploads next week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'll see how they're doing. I might add a bonus upload on Tuesday or Thursday if I get bored. I do like putting out these YouTube videos. I do appreciate all the love that you guys have shown with the likes and subscriptions and the new follows on Instagram. So thank you very much for being a part of it. Can't wait for the season to get here. I would love to hear from you in the comments down below. So please drop me a note of some sort of content that you'd like to see before the season gets here, and I'll see if I can get to it. Thank you guys for watching. There's a couple more videos for you to click on as well. Stay on the channel, and I'll be back next week. Have yourselves a good weekend. Bye.